Oh, welcome everyone. Today we're diving deep into the recruitment process. With me here is Matthew Goldsmith, head men's basketball coach at the College of New Jersey. Over the last 8 seasons, Coach Goldsmith had led his team to over 100 wins, multiple NJAC championships, and NCAA tournament appearances. Coach, thank you for joining us today. We're excited to learn from your perspective.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Excited to give a little bit of info out there.
Perfect. All right, so we're just gonna jump into things. We're gonna kick it off by talking about perhaps the most important step in the recruitment process, so identifying the right talent. So, Coach, what exactly are the key qualities or traits that you look for when recruiting a player? Like, what stands out the most when you're evaluating talent?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple directions to go when you're evaluating talent. Obviously there needs to be like a minimum ability level, right? You have to be able to make shots, guard, handle the rock. But the real art comes in, and for us at least, in terms of assessing character, right? So, just some general facts. We want long, skilled players, and we think when we get them here in our program that we can develop them defensively,
Mhm.
right? So, you have to have a certain level of foot speed on the defensive end, but if you're not like a lockdown guy, that's not going to turn us away. Whereas other programs that might, right? It kind of depends on what you're looking for. The real, again, art to it for us is figuring out character of guys because if you're a headache in the recruiting process or you have some attitude problems on the floor, there is a 0% chance that those don't come with you, right?
Mhm.
Those are going to come with you to college. And, um, the more energy you spend on guys like that when they're in your program, the less you're spending on everybody else. So we try to really prevent that from ever showing up by really assessing the character of our guys in the recruiting process. So that's through, you know, their coach, their AU coach, rival coaches. Like if I have a good relationship with somebody who plays against this kid, a couple times a year or every
Mhm.
year, whatever, I'll definitely ask those guys. Um, in addition, understanding what the family looks like, what the parents look like, what type of questions are they asking? Are they everything focused around playing time, or is it more about the fit and more about, like the program? I think those tell you a lot about a kid. So obviously we're looking for certain skill sets. For me, shooting is a separator in a big way because if you are a knockdown shooter, you are most likely a gym rat. There's really no other way to be great shooting unless you get a lot of reps. So
Yeah.
that tells us a lot. Like if you're a driller, in my eyes, that means you're going to fit in here because you're going to enjoy being in the gym.
Mhm.
So that's a big separator for us.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, I do agree that if you're a good shooter, you have to be in the gym because it's one of those skills where like you have to continually work at it to be great at it.
Hmm.
So speaking of that, recruitment is definitely a two-way street. So what are the reasons that you might stop recruiting a player, or are there any things that have ever happened in the past, like real examples where you were like, and like evaluating a player and you felt they were good, but something happened that you're like, okay, we're not going to go in that direction anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, you assess the talent early, you're getting a big list done, early in the process, and then you're going out and watching, AU games or high school stuff. And, certain things are definitely red flags. Again, I think attitude problems, sitting at the end of the bench by yourself, um, not addressing or like giving a high five to the guy coming in to sub you out, not looking at the coach in the eye. Sometimes even like when a kid comes to on a visit and a lot of his answers are moving in the direction, or even his parents' answers are moving in the direction of like, it's the coach's fault.
Hmm.
Again, I think you're most likely going to feel the exact same way no matter who your coach is, right? So it's
Yeah.
like if it's always going to be my fault, I don't know if I'll have that much enjoyment coaching you.
Hmm.
If you never really take ownership over your own stuff. The other ones that are for us, TCNJ is a really high academic school. It's tough classroom. So um, when you are relying on your parents for a lot of the communication, the information. Like if I'm going back via email or text with your parents, obviously we can have communication, but if they're the person scheduling or kind of planning out a lot of things, I get some red flags in that because you are going to be by yourself when you get here. And now am I going to have to take that role over? Are you going to be always late to things? Am I going to have to remind you of schedule? Again, I don't want to be worried about that. I want to be worried about our program and winning games. So,
Hmm.
some little things like that, like we really do as coaches assess every piece of the process. Like we're an academic school. If you're going to write me an email that has poor punctuation or no capital letters, or you write the email like it's a text message, I don't think you're going to do very well in the classroom, which is again going to be a headache for me once you get here.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of things like that, but definitely body language, um, like attitude, effort on the court, and then some of those little things that are going to be happening in the classroom or off the court are definitely going to play a role.
Giving off a good like first impression. Like, can you just go into detail about how much like first impression matters? Like, even if it's just off of email or you're seeing them in person for the first time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I think I tell recruits all the time, like you're really always being evaluated throughout the process. So like from the moment you get to your AAU event or whatever till the end, somebody's probably watching, and coaching's a small world, so we all know each other, we all see it. I'm good buddies, maybe with not maybe you're not your AAU coach, but the team you play against that day or
Hmm.
whatever, right? So I'm gonna hear about it. So there are just a lot of things you have to keep in mind. And again, in the email process, that first impression, like I can tell you a number of guys who have emailed um, without proofreading, and maybe they write in a coach of a rival team of ours, and like they're trying to put together a little information at the top, like I'm really interested in TCNJ, but they put in a different college.
Hmm.
Honestly, a lot of times it's just like I just delete it and move forward.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we're good, right? Or guys who they're trying to get their information out, which is the right thing to do, but they CC like 150 coaches and we're all on this email together, and it's like, well, there really is no interest in us. There's just you're just trying to blast this thing out as much as
Yeah.
possible. So I always say, like, like recruiting is a two-way street. So like we're actively looking for who we want to bring in, and you should be actively looking for where you want to be and what's a
Mhm.
good fit for you.
Exactly.
And when you do it the right way like that, there's no way you're gonna blast out an email to 200 schools, because
Mhm.
there's no chance that 200 schools fit what you're looking for if you really think about it
Yeah,
in the process.
exactly. Thank you for that. Then the next question is just the key traits that you think separate good players from college level players. So what I mean by that is what do you look for? What advice can you tell high school players like what they need to work on to be able to fit in the college lifestyle? Because it's very different. Like high school basketball and college basketball are two different worlds entirely. So what key traits should they be working on as of right now to help them when they get to the college level?
Yeah, again, I mean, obviously, like skill level matters. Getting in the gym. A big thing that happens at our level, or at least with our recruits, is oftentimes when guys show up, they're maybe um, lacking in the physical department. So like
Mhm.
strength wise, like getting in the weight room. A lot of times we'll have freshmen who are skilled enough or smart enough to be on the floor, but physically they need some work there in terms of the weight room. So that the game is faster and much more physical as you go up levels, and so that's often the area that guys struggle in when they show up. And yeah, I think besides that, a big piece is, are you looking for feedback? Can you take feedback? And can you apply feedback?
Mhm.
Right? Like some guys don't want to hear the truth. And when they do hear it, maybe they just ignore it or don't want to apply it. But we want guys who are looking for feedback and trying to get better, right?
Yeah.
Who want to know, hey, what should I work on? Some of my favorite recruits, before they ever get here, they're often asking like, Um, if I come to TCNJ, what are some things I need to work on so that like I'm ready to hit the ground running when I show up in the fall? And those are often the guys who have the most success because they want to hear the truth and then they're willing to apply it to, their skill sessions or their strength sessions or whatever it might be.
And then you briefly spoke about the role of family in recruitment decisions when we're
Yeah.
talking about how you look overall players. I wanted
Yeah.
to dive into that with more detail. So, how much does the involvement of the family like influence your decisions when it comes to recruiting, and like what aspects of it do you look for?
Yeah, I don't think parents understand that they are also being evaluated a little bit in this
Mhm.
process. Like I could go back to July right now and vividly picture a talented player we were thinking about recruiting. I happened to be standing next to the dad, and some of the things he was saying, it was like an immediate cross out. Like, no way are we going to have this guy coming
Yeah.
into our program. So, um, again, I think understanding that when a kid commits to TCNJ, like we get everything with that. We get the good and the bad, the baggage. It all comes to the program, right? So we're dealing with that stuff for 4 years, and not to say that like stuff comes up, like
Mhm.
home stuff goes sideways, like that stuff's normal, right? But don't get in your own way by speaking down about a coach in front of the coach you're trying to play for, or asking questions that are clearly very selfish in nature. Like, oh, do you think he'll play right away as a freshman? Like, for me, my answer is always, well, you're going to play the best guys. Like, I just want to win. So if he's one
Yeah.
of the best guys, he'll play. If he's not, he won't. Like, I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you.
Hmm.
But, I can't guarantee anything, right? So I definitely think family has a huge role. And understanding that piece is being evaluated just as much as the player, because again, I think basketball is a great game. There's tons of great players out there. There's lots of guys with skill and size and the grades that can come to TCNJ. But those other things are what separated it, those players, right? So again, the character, the makeup of the family, the approach during the recruiting process, the attention to detail in the recruiting process. I think all those things really separate one guy from the next. So I often tell guys when they want recruiting advice, like just don't get in your own way.
Hmm.
Like, like you don't have to do everything, but try to give as much information to that coach as possible so that he doesn't have to go back and forth in order to know everything about you. Like, don't send an email without your height. Don't send an email without your GPA. Like, don't try to hide things from us because we're going to figure it all out anyway. So let's get everything out on the table and then we can sort it out from there.
Yeah.
And then the other piece to the family is families shouldn't be afraid to ask the tough questions too. Hey, what's financial aid look like? Again, it's fine to ask, do you typically play freshmen? Because then I'll be able to say we play the best players, and that's who's going to play, no matter who that is, right? So you can ask the tough questions. You don't have to, hide that stuff. But again, just be smart and like intentional about what you're asking. Is this something you really need to know? Is this something that plays a major role in your decision-making process? Ask it, but don't be afraid of hearing the answer then, right? Like you're going to get the truth from that coach. So if you're going to ask the question, you better be okay with whatever that answer looks like.